Now, if you could do a favor for me, open up your YouTube and just see when my show actually starts.
Yeah, live
Done.
now.
Okay, right here. Looks like the show just started. Welcome back to the Crypto Hulk program. We have a guest today, a broker, something that you can almost never find anywhere. Can't find it on Coinbase. You can't find it on MetaMask, nowhere. But we have a brokerage firm that we're partnered with. We're super happy with them. About a year and a half ago, we started working with Caleb and Brown to help us. And I've had nothing but positive stuff. You guys started it for 6 weeks. You guys had Caleb and Brown. And I said, tell me for the next 6 weeks how everything goes. And everything went perfect. And then we joined them as an official partnership, and I'm glad that they're here. Today, we're going to discuss, it's kind of like open. We're going to, of course, talk about Caleb Brown for new people to understand what this is. And for just random people watching my program, why Caleb Brown? Why not Coinbase? Why not just go to Kraken or whatever? So we'll talk about some advantages of Caleb Brown. And it's kind of like an open show. We'll read the comments you guys have, questions, and that kind of thing, and we'll take it from there. So my name's Crypto Hulk. That was my name from birth, 56 years ago. I never lie in this program at all, and I'll pass it right over to Jim real quick. He could say his hellos and introductions.
Thanks for having me on Hulk. I wish my parents gave me a cool name like Crypto Hulk, but unfortunately, I got a pretty boring name in Jim. But yeah, look, thanks for having me on. For those that are new, we usually try and do these every couple of weeks, although we've both been pretty busy the last few. So it's probably been about 3 or 4 weeks since I've been on last. But yeah, as Hulk said, we've got a really strong partnership and really help support this community with all of their crypto matters. We'll go into a little bit today around what we do at Caleb and Brown and how we can help support you. I know there's probably a lot of listeners that are well aware, but it's always nice to have a bit of a refresher, especially with where we're at in the market right now. Things are pretty sideways. There's still a lot going on, but the market itself is pretty stagnant. So this is always a good time to get yourself prepared and ready for the next leg up or leg down, depending on where we go in the future here. So yeah, for those that are new, nice to meet you. For those that see me every so often, good to see you again. And yeah, feel free to put any questions that you've got into the chat about Calvin Brown, but also just the markets. Happy to chat about everything that's going on in the crypto space as well. So yeah, far away.
Let me look at some comments here real quick, and then we'll jump back to some other stuff. Um, Mikey Gilbert. Everybody loves Caleb Brown, man. The comments that I'm reading and stuff. So I'm glad that we're working with you guys. People get into jam up. Some of these guys don't know how to buy. They don't want to lose a crypto. Like they don't want to go. I mean, sometimes we buy different cryptos at different places. Caleb Brown doesn't carry all the speculative crap that we like on this show. Um, but a lot of these guys don't want to lose their crypto by messing up. I got a lot of brand new people that don't know what they're doing, and I'm like, go to Caleb Brown. You can call him up, you can email him, tell him what to do. Let's say you don't know how to trade stuff. Email your broker, tell him do this and do that. Bam, it's done. It's that easy. Some of these people, I got one client who's 80 years old. This lady tries her best and she gets some of the stuff done. But for her, it's easy, just calling you guys. That's what she likes to do. Can you do this for me? Thank you. Bye. And they get it done. So everybody has their different technical levels, and I prefer the email method. Like now I'm learning how to use your website, so I'm doing a lot of trades myself. I did one the other day or whatever. Um, but in the beginning, I think I was telling my broker what to do. But then I started playing with your website more and more, and it's pretty easy. You gotta kind of play with it and experiment with it, and you'll find I can trade something from a. So I did this the other day. I got something from a software wallet on my phone and put it into Caleb and Brown, and I think I did like $3 just to test it to make sure it made it, and it took about I think 2 minutes. It was like something Ethereum, so it's like a snail. So it took about 2 3 minutes to hit Caleb Brown, and when I saw that $3 worth of Ethereum, then I just boom sent the rest, and then flipped out and got Axelar, and so that's what I did. So Yeah, let me check some comments here for a second.
Yeah, it's a good point around the ease of the app and the portal that everyone can use. And so that's by design. We try to make, because often at times, especially for people that are new to crypto, exchanges can be really confusing in terms of how to use them. The interface isn't very user friendly. And so we've kind of made our app and portal as simple as possible for people to use. So it clearly shows you where your assets are, what you're holding. There's clear sections on how to trade, or in Hulk's example, how to transfer assets over. And so that's by design. But as Hulk said, I mean, it's just as easy to email your broker with any trades or anything you'd like to get done as well. So it gives you that option of both. And again, that's all by design in terms of making it easy for both, the most tech savvy person out there, but as Hulk mentioned, we work with a lot of, I would say, older generation clients that are surprisingly buying a lot of crypto. Even people in their 70s, 80s, and 90s are very much big supporters and advocates of this asset class and want exposure to it. So, yeah, we work with a broad range of clients, and that's why we've built something that's really easy to use.
Michael Gilbert is showing. I've seen him tell me this before. 1 week and Decent Wallet never returned his email. Caleb Brown emails me back in minutes. Jim, tell us about how fast you guys are. Is it a bot? If I send my broker a message, do bots read this stuff and interact with me?
Nah, we have no bots or support chat, AI chat support bots, or whatever else any of these other platforms use. You're always either speaking to a real person or it's actually a real person emailing you, which probably surprises a lot of people. But you'll see that any email response you get, it's either the broker themselves or it's one of our customer support teams that are looking after that broker's email. And so usually they'll sign off on behalf of the broker. So in Hulk's case, his broker is Sean, but he may get an email from, say, Jackson in our support team, and Jackson will be the one that responds to the email. So not only do you get that direct, dedicated broker, you actually have a customer support team around your account, which means that it's a genuine 24/7 service. And so if Hulk is messaging or emailing, trying to get a hold of his US broker in the middle of the night, who's obviously asleep, there will be someone in the Australian office that will be managing their inbox, and vice versa. If you have an Australian broker and you're in the US and you're emailing them, someone in our US office will be managing their inbox. So it's always a person that you're speaking to, which is what a lot of people value. And to be honest, when people are getting started in this space, they want to speak to a human being. They don't want to have to go through a support chat and go through 10 rounds of questions before you get a hold of someone. With us, it's always a human being that can help you, and he's someone that is actually very knowledgeable about crypto, which is a really big value add.
Okay, I'll tell you what, that's after 6 weeks of you guys test driving Caleb and Brown. Okay, here's what I'm like, old school, born in the 70s, okay? Almost 1969. But it's like, here's what I demand. I need to get on a phone and call a person. That's just me. If I if I email my broker, at first it was late. It was like United States 10 p.m. I emailed my broker something about whatever, and I got something back as a response. I think I might have asked the chat thing, "Are you a real person?" or whatever, and it came back, "I'm a human." I'm like, "What?" So I was like, damn, this is amazing. So it's like 24/7. I mean, I'm I like that. All these other companies, okay, the reason with Caleb Brown's on this show as our team is because I have things the way I like them. I'm very particular on customer service. That's a big deal. That's why I have an open chat, right? I don't like doing pre-recorded shows. I hate it. If you got a question, bam, put it in the damn top chat. We can answer the question right now. That's how I like doing instant, right? I'm not Mikey Gilbert saying it's taken like a week to get back from this. That's why we use Caleb and Brown, okay, for stuff like that. Pick up the phone, call your broker. You got people in Australia. When we're sleeping here, they're awake. And when the Australians are awake, we're sleeping. But guess what? They got two locations. I mean, they got locations on both sides of the world. You're going to get somebody, a human being, to help you with your issue. That's what I love about this company. Chris Sharpie said, I've never done my own trade. I just email Andrew and it's done in like 4 minutes. Wow.
That's
Yeah,
good.
that's amazing. So you got the Kalen Brown brand new people. There's real people working there. Imagine that. And but that's really hard to find nowadays. I'm telling you. Everything is this AI bot crap that I just don't like it. So Kalen Brown
Especially if you, yeah,
has
especially if you
like
have
a
like an issue with your account and stuff like that. Like I'm the same. I've had issues in the past with other exchanges, and it's like something you want solved immediately. And when you're just dealing with not a real human being, it's just a support chatbot. Nothing ever gets solved, and you just feel more stressed in the process. So yeah, I've certainly experienced that personally in my own sort of dealings in crypto in the past.
there she is right there. So this lady right here, 80 years old. I've talked to her on the phone before multiple times. Caleb and Brown are the best. I am the little old lady who they helped set up the LLC account. Now they're helping to switch my cryptos. They're the best. See, she'll call me up. It was like we talked about 2 weeks ago. And she's like, "Oh my, no, I'm not going to imitate the New Jersey accent." But she's like talking to me. She's like talking on the phone. No, just kidding. That's more New York. But she'll call me and say, I don't know how to transfer this. And sometimes I'll try to give her some instruction on how to do stuff. And if she's too overwhelmed, you know what I tell her? You got Kalen Brown, right? Just call him on the phone. This shit's too easy. He'll walk you through what you have to do and stuff. It's like if this lady had to deal with Coinbase or Kraken, oh my God, it would be a disaster. She'd either never be able to buy her crypto, or if something were to happen and she has to get out quick, she won't know what to do. That's where the Kalen Brown comes in. Send them an email from your phone, call them on the phone, like whatever the hell you want to do, right? It's that easy. There's people there 24/7 that are going to help you. That's support, okay? Support is not having a chat bot answer your damn question because those chat bots never work with all that AI crap. It just doesn't, I don't like it. That's just me. Some of you guys are savvy. You can do it all yourself, but some of you just need some assistance like me. Now, let's look, Jim, let's talk a little bit about what the hell's going on in the world. And what have you noticed on your end? We got these war thing popping off. What what are things that you see as a broker as a trend that's occurring maybe over the past month? What have you seen over the past month? Like, I don't know. Maybe tell us something, and then I can kind of think of the news we were talking about and maybe correlated or something.
Yeah, absolutely. So, look, as I said at the start, it's been a pretty sideways market in terms of price performance. I think certain assets are holding up pretty well, especially Bitcoin as kind of the first mover, largest asset in this space. It's hovering around 65,000. It's doing okay. It's obviously not, it's ranging anywhere from sort of 3 to 4%, but it's not really moving too much. And I think a lot of that is just based off the fact that we're in a pretty uncertain time. As you mentioned, the war in Iran is just continuing to be a thing, really. We thought the peace talks that were announced about 3 or 4 weeks ago were going to materialize. They didn't. And so we're at this point in time now where it looks like the US is further bombing Iran. So that's causing a lot of uncertainty and fear in the market. And unfortunately, crypto is one of the more risk on assets that people look towards moving towards safe harbor assets when there's uncertainty. It's also the most liquid asset because you can trade it 24/7. So people are often looking to sell out of their crypto positions first. But I think that is a big thing. At the end of the day, if that continues to escalate, that'll impact the global economy. We're already seeing that with now oil prices above $100 again. That'll have impacts on inflation, which then further down the line will impact the Federal Reserve's decision. Ultimately, as a risk on asset, we want interest rates to reduce, but if inflation continues to rise, we'll probably get some sort of rise in interest rates eventually, which won't be a positive factor for crypto. So these are all things that we talk with our clients about all the time, but it's important to be aware of as a crypto investor. As much as we'd like to think we're separate and almost individualized from all of those things happening in the market, at the end of the day, we're still very much impacted by them. Another big development is, look, the Clarity Act is progressing in terms of updates made to the wording of it. Some recent, pretty interesting updates to the privacy notes within the Clarity Act is essentially wouldn't allow for public officials and government officials to launch their own tokens, which is pretty funny given that we've seen Trump do that already. So there's a lot going on in the Clarity Act perspective, but the timelines for that are incredibly strict and we're coming up on them pretty quickly. So I think that needs to get passed, or the next round of passings needs to happen by August 7th. Whether we get that or not is probably looking unlikely, but the Clarity Act's a really big, I would say, short-term catalyst growth driver for us. If that does get passed, I think we'll start to see a lot of momentum both for Bitcoin, but a lot of these altcoins as well. So that's something to look forward to. And hopefully that gets passed. But yeah, look, there's just a lot going on, and Trump imposed more tariffs today. And I think tariffs are a pretty big sign, if they do go through, that that it's a negative impact on, again, risk on assets, but also just the broader economy. A lot of the equity markets and share markets dipped overnight because of that news. So yeah, look, there's a lot going on. In terms of what we're seeing a lot of clients. I'll be completely honest. We've had a lot of clients that have just stopped paying attention to crypto, and that's pretty common in this period of what we kind of. It feels like a bit of a bear market. We've had a lot of clients sort of stop showing interest in crypto and aren't really adding to their positions or even touching their positions. But we do have a lot of clients that are looking at this current market as a good buy opportunity. I'm obviously not financial advice, but if you look at some of the price levels that you can get now versus what, say, Bitcoin or XRP was even 6 months ago, it's a pretty good entry point for a lot of people that maybe wanted to add into their position. So we're seeing a lot of things happen in the global economy that will impact crypto, which we need to be aware of. But I think at the fundamental level, not a lot has changed. And in fact, some of the more fundamental numbers around how much money is still flowing in terms of ETF inflows, in terms of adoption numbers, so like total value locked on some of these blockchains, are still continuing to rise. So unfortunately, it's one of those things where the fundamentals are great, but it's not always reflected in the price. So yeah, that's a little rundown. There's a fair bit in that, but yeah, eager to get your thoughts on it, Hulk. Where do you think we're kind of at right now?
Well, you're talking to the right guy. We have a speculative channel. These people are bulls. Um, when we see prices dump, these guys are just running out to buy it. I mean, it's kind of like somebody will come and ask me, like, if something dumps 30%, these guys like, oh shit. Then they tell me, and then people run out and buy whatever dumps 30%. Now, the average person, when they see that something dumps 30, 35%, they're like, oh my God. But on Crypto Hawk Show, these guys run in with dollars and buy that. So I mean, good cryptos, solid connections, Jim, relationships with banks, governments, not crap coins. These guys, and I show them all the stuff. And one of the things that we're very bullish on, which nobody really talks about, is that there's something very massive that's happening right now. Well, okay, first off, Russia. Did you hear lately what happened with Russia and cryptos at all?
No, what happened? I haven't heard anything from Russia recently.
Here we go. So on Crypto Hawk Show about, oh, I don't know what, guys, 3, 4 days ago, Russia just green lighted crypto for purchases for retail and wholesale. They turn on the green light that people are allowed to buy it. If you're not an accredited investor, you can only spend 4,000 bucks a year. I think if you have experience or you pass some kind of a test, kind of like in America, then it's like no limit. And I was like, what? Now, if you're a qualified investor, you can't buy privacy coins. So, like, is Zcash a privacy coin? I don't even know. Do you
Yeah,
know?
it is. Yeah.
Okay,
And
so it
Monero,
mentioned,
Zcash and Monero are the main
yeah,
two.
Monero and Zcash. It gave examples like, e.g., Monero, Zcash can't buy. So if you're in Russia, you can't buy the privacy coins, obviously, because the government likes to surveil, just like the United States. But when I read that to these guys, I'm like, hey, guess what? Russia just greenlighted crypto, everybody. And what we watch on this program is, if Russia does something like that, now what if their buddies China did something like that? Opened up crypto. I don't know if it'll happen or not, but I'm just saying what ifs. This could cause the United States Senate to get this Clarity Act passed so we can catch up with the Russians and the Chinese. What if, who else would join that? Maybe India, like the BRICS, Brazil, Russia, India. What if all the BRICS countries, think about this, Jim, how massive this could be. What if all the BRICS countries decided they're going to be like Russia and just greenlight the crypto? You know what would happen to the American dollar? We probably would have an issue, wouldn't we?
Well, I think adoption across different jurisdictions and large scale economies is one of the clear growth value adds that we haven't still gotten today. As you said, Russia's been pretty restrictive towards crypto. I can only count the amount of times that China's banned crypto and banned Bitcoin. But at the end of the day, long term, I think we'll see that all of these large scale economies will continue to use crypto and leverage blockchain technology within their systems. And so, yeah, look, I think that if you think about how many people are in Russia and China alone and how big those economies are, that's far more demands. Although, if Russians can only buy $4,000, it's not a lot, right? But I think
Right.
long term, that's setting up the guardrails and future benefits for a lot of these people in these countries to start owning crypto. And I think we'll start to see more demand and more buyers flow through. At the end of the day, for these prices to go up, we need more buyers and we need more capital flowing through. And especially the Chinese economy, like it is a very rich and large economy. And so more ability and flexibility to buy crypto, I think will be a positive thing. And I think we'll see that, as I've mentioned this maybe a couple of times on this show, that a lot of the biggest developing countries in the world, a lot of them don't have a government they can trust. They can't trust their banks. And a lot of the time, their inflation in terms of a lot of the time, their currency, their local currency has hyperinflation. So they can't actually even afford to earn that currency because it's essentially going to zero. But what's the commonality that most of the developing nations have in the world is that they have access to a phone and they have access to internet. And so technically they can get access to crypto through that. And so I do think there's a big growth opportunity in developing nations as well, which we're already seeing in places like Africa. So yeah, it's an interesting one because I think we always think about the bubble that we all live in Australia and the US, which are pretty pro crypto for the most part. But I think we'll see a lot of growth opportunity in a lot of these other economies as well. Now, hopefully that puts a bit more impetus on the American government to pass the Clarity Act because, as Trump has said all along, they want to be the crypto capital of the world. Well, you need to have the legislation and regulation to do that for a lot of your largest businesses and companies to support crypto. And so hopefully that will continue to push them forward to start passing more of these regulations and have those hearings at the Senate that seem to get delayed every week. So yeah, I think it's a really exciting time in this space, even if maybe the price isn't really where we want it to be.
So yeah, what what was interesting is, Russia kind of pushed it back. Instead of in July, they were supposed to go live in April. They said they had to delay it for like a few months. The conditions are, the Russian people can go from 4,000 per year up to a higher level. They have to be able to, like, prove that they're sophisticated investors or whatever. They got to pass a test, kind of like in America or whatever. You take a Series 7 or whatever the hell it is. But what's interesting is they can trade. Okay, if they own a store or something like that, if they're shipping stuff overseas, they can use crypto for payment. Think about this. Here's where the dollar now. This is just on my own. I didn't hear this. This is my own speculation. But from what we went over the article, if the Russians are trading amongst themselves, then they have to use the ruble, and there's going to be a digital ruble. But if they want to trade overseas, let's say you have a company and you want to sell widgets to the United States, well, can't even, okay, Mexico, the Russian could accept payment from Mexico as whatever crypto and then ship the goods over to Mexico. That would cause a serious problem to the dollar, in my opinion, okay, by using cryptocurrency. Now, if Russians wanted to sell widgets to other Russians, they got to use the ruble. What do we got going on here? That protects the ruble, right? So, what you're doing is you're bringing in money. And if you buy anything in Russia, it's all got to be ruble, ruble, ruble. But if you're buying or selling outside of the country, the government's like green light. How long that lasts, I don't know. But what that's going to bring, massive crypto adoption coming up. If China copies, Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa, those are all BRICS, the early BRICS. Then there's other ones, probably another 30 or 40 that signed up. What if they all do the same thing? We might have an issue with the United States dollar. And however long, maybe that takes 3, 6, 9, 12 months, whatever it is. I think Russia's the big dog of all those countries. I think once Russia does it and it's successful, guess what? The rest of the BRICS is going to happen to them. What do you think? Yeah, no, or am I crazy or what?
I think so. I think part of, I mean, there's definitely, that's an interesting theory. I do think part of a lot of what happens in the cryptocurrency space is through stable coins. And we've seen to date that the two largest players in stable coins, far and away, are USDT and USDC, which require these businesses to buy up significant amounts of US treasuries. And so I don't know how much of an impact that'll have on the US dollar specifically, especially because by nature of buying stable coins for a lot of these liquidity pairings, you're kind of supporting the US dollar in the back end because it forces Tether and Circle to have more US treasuries in its system. There's no doubt that there's a lot of speculation around, well, where's the US dollar going long term? I think we're continuing to see it weaken over time. And there's no doubt that just due to the massive debt situation in the US and inflation and reduction of purchasing power, there's less and less demand for the US dollar. And really, the requirement for the US dollar kind of being the number one asset that everyone needed was off the back of a provision that was created 60 plus years ago after World War II, right? So I think people are less likely to need the US dollar moving forward, which will then really lead towards, well, where do we move moving forward? I don't know if people will be buying the Russian ruble per se. I don't know how secure that fiat currency is, but I think it's a fair point to think that, look, the way that we've done finance for the last 50, 60, 70 years will no doubt innovate, just like everything else is innovated in terms of how we socialize, how we do business, how we interact with each other, how we buy our groceries, how manufacturing's done. Like everything is changing for better or worse with the artificial intelligence, but also through blockchain technology in terms of how we transact and how we do commerce and not needing necessarily a third party intermediary. So I do, part of me does think that long term, the way in which we've done commerce in the past with fiat currency and how it's tied to the global economies around the world, I think will change. What that looks like, who knows? But I do think that people need to be aware of that. And look, I hold Australian dollars in my bank account, but I'm less and less wanting to do that because of the reduction in purchasing power that one Australian dollar, what that was valued at 10 years ago is very different to now what it's worth today. So that's no doubt going to continue. And so that's why Bitcoin really was created. And so who knows what will end up happening, but I do think it's an important element to why I think cryptocurrency will be a thriving industry moving forward.
Now, the next thing I noticed, now I want to go to like a macro, something really huge. I don't know if you're aware, because look, you guys at Caleb Brown study, you got a business, you got clients, that's your stuff. I'm kind of free to investigate, discover, deep dive. Well, what we got going on now involves the United States. You have Scott Bessent, the Secretary of the Treasury, working with probably 54 different banks, global banks, working with the United Kingdom. It's called the Transatlantic. It's like a crypto platform they're building. You got Broadridge is like the core infrastructure. They're building a crypto bridge from the United Kingdom to have stocks, bonds, equities, everything, banking, everything on a platform. They're working with Scott Bessent from the United States Treasury to build this bridge. Broadridge is right on in there, and Broadridge is built on top of what crypto? Canton. Okay. We went over all this on my show, and I was like, whoa. So let me tell you something. What we at Crypto Hawk Show watch is the news and the future happening in front of us. And in about 1 year, this project will be done. That's what they say. There will be a bridge of crypto to do everything, all kinds of business, banking, you name it. It'll be there. It'll be bridged to the United States, and I know that the United States, United Kingdom, Canada, and Australia will be right in there along with it because you guys are kind of, I mean, the Crown in Canada and United Kingdom and Australia, and we're kind of all four of us. We're all kind of related. That's where this is starting, and we went over this a few days ago, and we were like fascinated. So, as far as crypto prices, like on my show, we don't care. Like that doesn't even matter. Because when I show them the connections that the United Kingdom is doing with the United States with this transatlantic crypto platform and Broadridge all on top of Canton and stuff. These guys are like, whoa, Crypto Hulk. So I said, look, you guys, I don't know when this thing takes off. They're talking about a year from now. We should have it all hooked up. I mean, that's what we look at on Crypto Hawk program.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. And even, we're starting to see the DTCC without the Clarity Act. They've now launched their pilot to have tokenized stocks on their platform and have that as part of the clearing capabilities within everything that they do. So we're starting to see genuine adoption from not just like small little businesses, like genuinely the largest US institutions and financial institutions in terms of the DTCC. Obviously, the FTC will be part of the framework of who looks after crypto moving forward. But look, that's a $16 trillion settlement organization that is starting to explore tokenized assets and using blockchain to do that. Right, so we're certainly getting closer and closer to the largest institutions adopting this technology. And you mentioned Canton as a asset. Ondo, I think, is the main one in the tokenized space currently. But that just shows that there's genuine use cases for cryptocurrency and blockchain technology outside of just decentralized finance and speculative trading and prediction markets, which have their place. Don't get me wrong, but I think long term they're not necessarily net positive use cases for crypto. It's a lot of gambling, it's a lot of speculation. But we
Right.
can see on the other end of the spectrum that tokenization is clearly the way forward here. It's safer, it's more efficient, it's clearer rules of ownership. Again, it doesn't require necessarily third party intermediaries. So I think long term, that's where we're going. And through that, there'll be opportunities, obviously, in some of these projects that win, whether that's Canton, whether that's Ondo. But I think long term, it'll rise the what's the saying, rise all the boats in
Yeah.
the tide, right? Because a lot of what will happen is to use these platforms that are starting to use blockchain, you'll need to have stable coins, which will make it easier for people who already hold stable coins to maybe buy crypto like Bitcoin and what have you. And so I think the more and more at a retail but institutional level that start to use cryptocurrency, the more familiar they become with it and the more likely they are to invest more of their capital into this space, which is really what we're looking for long term. A lot of the capital right now is going into AI stocks, AI speculative plays, even stocks like SpaceX, where people see a lot of growth, and that's kind of taken a bit of the attention away from the crypto space. But I think long term, when clear use cases come out, as we're seeing now, more and more capital will flow into those spaces. And so, yeah, it's an exciting time, even if, as you said, the price isn't really where we want it to be right now. The fundamentals and everything that's happening at an innovation level is a really exciting time to be a part of.
You know what's exciting? Right there, I want you guys, here's a spoiler alert. Tomorrow morning, YouTube show, it's going to be members only. and then I'll release it to the public after that. This link right here, Swift is doing something massive, you guys. So, like Jim's talk about, these speculative people or people put money in this AI speculative stuff. Look, at Crypto Hulk Show, it's a straight up real world use case. I mean, yeah, we'll speculate on something, whatever, but 90% of our focus, 95% is hardcore facts, figures, real relationships between companies. This right, this right here, Swift just came out with a video showing how, in a matter of like imminently, they're going to release instant cross border payments and all these things. That video, after the show's over, Jim, watch that damn video right now. Send that to your email or your phone and say, watch immediately. It's a little short video, 2 minutes, 2.5, whatever. It's straight up power. Swift, we talked about on my program, Swift tested Linnea. Now, Caleb Brown has Linnea. Swift tested Linnea for 1 whole year. Linnea is owned by Consensus. Linnea was gifted to a company called Linux. Linux is going to use Linnea with the DTCC and helping to move $4.7 quadrillion a year. I'm like, whoa, Crypto Hulk Show is crazy. Okay. Watch that Swift video. And who uses DTCC? We've been talking about it's Canton, and they're going to use Linnea. Now, Linnea, and you can verify all this stuff, when Linnea was gifted to Linux, the platform, not the coin, the Linnea crypto is still Linnea. What was given to Linux was Lineth. So they changed. Consensus gave Linux, because guess what? The backbone of the DTCC and Swift is part of it is going to be Linnea. Now, what happened also? Consensus took over Hyperledger. That was a project over the past 10 years. Hyperledger has Stellar. We all know, what did the DTCC say about Stellar? It's going to tokenize. That Stellar coin's going to rip hard and fast, okay? Right now, everything's cheap. All the normal people, they have no idea what I'm talking about. Crypto Hulk fans, these guys know. So DTCC announces we're going to use Stellar. What did the brokies do? The brokies go out, they buy Stellar, woo, it goes up. And then what do? They sell it right off. They don't even care about, see, on Crypto Hulk Show, Jim, we go over what are the biggest companies in the world doing? What cryptos are the biggest companies in the world going to use? Give us evidence, Crypto Hulk, show us. And that's what I told him. And everything I talk about, you can verify online. But that was massive. Swift, that little Swift video, I'm watching that. That's Linnea and Kanto right there. So I'm going to let that go. And, but that's going to be tomorrow's show. It's going to be how massive the Swift DTCC Linux consensus connection. Whew, man. So you guys, Linnea, get that at Caleb Brown. If you think you really want to be a part of all this, you can get it if you want, because I can't tell you what to do, but that's just my opinion. Is Linnea Public Ledger going to be used? Tomorrow morning, you can watch the show and I'll answer that question. Where are we at? We got about a little bit of time up there. Jim, you still there?
I just had someone ask a question. So around whether they can contact me via email. So look, for the crypto Hulk community, we want to make sure that Kalen Brown is very much looking after you. Hulk mentioned at the very start of this live stream, the history we've had, it's been over a year and a half now, which has gone really quickly. For us working with you guys, making sure that you're well set up, ensuring that you're supported throughout your crypto journey. So look, for anyone that maybe hasn't signed up and has got further questions, feel free to email me in the chat. I've put my email address in there, and I'll be happy to answer any questions you may have, or even jump on a call and help you that way. So yeah, for anyone that's looking to get similar to a lot of the education that you get through Hulk, you'll be able to have someone that you can speak to about your particular portfolio, around all the interesting things happening in the market. We obviously list over 300 assets, right? So we have all the main ones, but there are some more that are on the speculative and utility side. It's a wide ranging list. And so we can chat to you about all of those and see if there's any fit around what you may be interested in. But I think, yeah, as we've mentioned throughout, this is a great place to learn about interesting developments happening in crypto. But in terms of if you want to execute on any of that stuff, that's where we're here to help as long as we list those assets. So, yeah, I put my email in the chat if anyone wants to reach out.
Okay. Let me take a look here. Jim, I think what we'll do, um, go over as we wrap the show up, go over the biggest benefits that give me like the top three of the biggest benefits of Caleb and Brown over like a crypto exchange, and maybe like 5 minutes or something like that, or if you're able to discuss that, just give us a concise three of the biggest things that Caleb Brown has for new people and why that you're better than a crypto exchange for these three reasons.
Yeah, sure. So look, the first one, and I think it's the most important one, is that it's a genuine personalized service that you're not going to experience anywhere else. So when you sign up and create an account, you'll receive a dedicated broker who will be your main point of contact with all your crypto dealings in our business. So that person is an expert in the cryptocurrency space, but also the broader macro environment as well. Some of the stuff we spoke around tariffs and, the federal chair and interest rates, all of these things impact the cryptocurrency landscape. And so you'll have someone that is actually very knowledgeable about all of it. And most importantly, will be there to help cater their education and their expertise to you and your particular portfolio. Because look, every single one of us has a different risk profile, interest in assets, investment time horizon, different terms of capital in terms of what we're willing to spend in this market as well. And so you build a genuine working relationship with a broker that understands you for you and what you're trying to get out of this space. And so that broker can help you with anything from trade execution, like we've mentioned, to how we do custody, to setting up trading strategies and profit taking strategies, as well as just general education on the market. So you'll always have someone that you can contact, which again, I love exchanges, but you're not going to be able to speak to a human being, not like just in general. A lot of the time you can't, but more importantly, I couldn't speak to someone at Coinbase about my particular portfolio, right? So it's a far more personalized white glove service that you'll get. That's, I'd say, the first and probably the best benefit. The second largest benefit is the custody solution that we offer. So a lot of the time when you're holding assets on an exchange, they're moving those assets around. They're moving from cold wallets to hot wallets. They're essentially a lot of the time being staked or commingled with everyone else's assets. And so we've developed a custody solution that we've not charging anything for it. And the reason for that is just we want people to feel safe in terms of preserving their wealth, ensuring their assets are protected without maybe having to deal with the stress of being your own bank and setting up your own cold wallet. And so we've developed a custody solution through Fireblocks where your assets are held in cold storage. They aren't commingled, they aren't moved around. They sit in cold storage until you decide to make a trade or withdraw them, which is a really big peace of mind for a lot of clients, especially our high net worth ones that don't want to hold 500K or $1 million on their own wallet on an exchange. They hold it with us safely. They don't get charged custody fees for it, but they can access those assets at all times, which is the most important part. And so personalized service, custody, and then I'd probably say the third one is honestly liquidity. Our ability to be able to work with OTC desks, different liquidity providers, even liquidity pools, decentralized and centralized exchanges. We have so many different avenues to source liquidity, which ultimately means at any given time, we're able to get the best price for you in the market, whether that's being able to sell at the highest price or buy in at the lowest price. We're able to source a whole range of different ways to get liquidity, which again, unlike an exchange, is very different. So most exchanges are liquidity sorry, they source the liquidity as a market maker, which means usually there's only one liquidity pool that they set. They also set the spreads of that liquidity pool, which can be disadvantageous for clients. So I would say they're sort of the big three, but there's all little things within our service that I would say are a really big value add for most clients as well. But personalized service, custody, and liquidity, which are kind of the three main things that you want in any crypto service anyway, I would say are the really big value adds that we provide that most exchanges can't.
Now, but lastly, this is kind of a silly question, but what I'm trying to do is see what the atmosphere is like at Caleb Brown. So, does like on Fridays, does the management, you guys ever have like little banquets where everybody brings in food, or do they buy pizza sometimes? Or so I want to kind of just a brief, is there, do you guys do any of that kind of stuff or no?
Yeah, I mean that's the first time I've ever had that question. So that's I like answering new questions. Yeah, look, we have so I'm in our Melbourne office here. We obviously have that office in Fort Lauderdale as well, which I've visited a few times. In the Melbourne office, Friday's usually one of our busier days. And so we have days where everyone comes in and we have a pretty large office here in Melbourne. And a lot of the time we'll just grab a lunch together around where we're based in Richmond. But a lot of the time on Wednesdays, we have what's called an anchor day. And that's usually a day where every single person in the business comes into the office and we'll have lunch together. So, what was it this week? We had salads this week, but it's usually a lot less healthy than that. It's usually like banh mi's or sometimes we've had pizza, sometimes we've had burgers. So, that's a really great point in time where everyone comes together as a business. And I know that's a very similar thing that they do in the US. And so I have frequent touch points with our US team as well. So I'd say the culture of this business is great. And the key reason that we try and get everyone into the office is that, look, at the end of the day, as Hulk is showing in his week to week analysis on what's happening, there's so much happening in this space every single day. And so it's really valuable for us, even just as a business, to understand okay, what are the key trends we're seeing in the cryptocurrency landscape? A lot of the time, our guys on the brokerage side of the office, they're big investors themselves and traders, right? So they're always trading new things. They're always finding out about new things happening in this space. So it keeps all of us knowledgeable, which is great because then we can provide that knowledge onto our clients. So yeah, look, the company culture here is great. And Friday, which it is today for us, I know it's Thursday in the US, that's one of our busier days in the office.
Okay. Right on. Okay, with that, everybody, thanks for showing up. I will have this show ready to go. I'm going to change the profile, the picture. Like right when I click out of this thing, I'm going to do some touch up to it, but it'll be ready to go for everybody to watch tomorrow morning. I think about 9:15 a.m. somewhere in there. I'll figure out the time. About 9:15 a.m. Pacific time, maybe 9:30. We're gonna have a show. It's gonna be a massive show on Swift. You guys, it's coming. The big dogs are coming. Jim, thanks for showing up, and we'll maybe see you in a couple weeks or so, right?
Yeah, see you guys in a couple of weeks. Thanks for having me on. Yeah, excited. Hopefully, we see some positive stuff over the next couple of weeks.
Definitely. All right, everybody. With that, I'll see you all in the next one. Okay, that